Hey guys, I want to share an awesome testimony with you. And this is about the time the Lord gave me a name of a person that I'd never met, and He told me that He wanted me to talk to him. Now, before I get into the testimony and what the Lord told me, I just want to give you a bit of a background on the ministry that I've done in the past. I've done a number of years of street ministry, going out in the streets, preaching the gospel to people. I've had words of knowledge. I've prayed for healing. I've prayed for deliverance, and I've really seen the power of God move in people's lives. This particular testimony really stands out because it's something that's never happened before, and I haven't had it happen since, although I would like it to. So what happened was I'm at home one day and the Lord spoke to me and He told me that He wanted me to go into the city and He wanted me to speak to a guy whose name was Alex. Now, I've never met this person before and I didn't know where to find them other than the city. And I wasn't 100% sure, I believe, at the time that I was hearing from God. I think I was like, yeah, this is pretty out there, but I'm willing to be obedient and see if this is from God. So I got in my car and I drove the Esplanade. And I drove. I'm from Cairns, far north Queensland, in Australia, and there's an Esplanade in Cairns. I think there's an Esplanade pretty much everywhere on the coastline, but in this particular part, we've got a lagoon, and further down, there's a skate park towards the hospital. That's not where I normally go to minister, but I decided that I would go there this time. And I got out of the car, and I wasn't sure where to look for this person, but I sort of just walked towards the shoreline, and I seen this guy sitting on this concrete like pipe that goes out into the ocean. He's just sitting there by himself. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey, my name's Ben." And he said, "Hey, I'm Alex." And yeah, that moment, like, that's pretty crazy, to hear from God, to tell you to go to speak to someone, named Alex in the city, and you've driven to the city, and the first person that you speak to is Alex. So right there, I was just like, okay, this is, this has got to be a God-appointed moment. So I've talked to Alex, and I've ministered to him, and I've prayed for him, and he got touched powerfully by God, and I spent some time with him. And then he got a text message that he had to go into work, so I let him go, and I continued down the Esplanade, and I seen another guy, and he was sitting on this park bench, and while I was a distance away from him, I just thought to ask the Lord, what's his name? Like I got one name of a person, and it was on point. I thought, I'll just ask the Lord, what's his name? And I said, "Lord, what's his name?" And I heard the name David. So I've walked over to him, and I wasn't confident enough at that point to just go, "Hey, David, how are you?" I mean, that might have freaked him out anyway. But I just said, "Hey, my name's Ben." He goes, "Hey, I'm David." So I'm just like, okay, this is two names that, the Lord has given me, and they've been on point. So I talked to David, and David, he'd actually been baking in the sun. He'd passed out drunk, and he'd been baking in the sun all day, and Cairns, can get quite hot. It's tropical. So he'd been drinking, and he passed out in the sun. So by the time I saw him, I think he'd just gotten up, and I don't think he was feeling too good, so... I had some prayer for him, and then I told him about the Lord, and I took him to get something to eat, and I told him about baptism, and he said he wanted to be baptized. There's actually a lagoon on the Esplanade, so I've baptized a number of people there, and I went and got him some board shorts, and I went and baptized him in the lagoon, and his testimony is pretty powerful. When he went down the water, he come up, he said he's seen all the demons leaving him. But not only that, he said he heard God speak from the sky, and he heard something along the lines of, "Son, you're going to follow me now." Something along those lines, which is pretty powerful. And I stayed in contact with David for quite a while. Then I believe he moved, but he did ring me a couple of years after that, after he moved, and he asked me how how I was going, and I spoke to him, and he said I still have my card in his wallet, and so I don't know. This is just being led by the Lord. So the reason I'm sharing this is, it's an awesome testimony. I'm still in awe of it, but I think it's really encouraging because it just shows us what's possible in the Lord. And what we read in the book of Acts, we read how they were led by the Spirit of God. How, one would get a dream, another would get a vision, and then, it's like you've got Peter, then you got Cornelius had that dream, and God set up these divine, encounters, or God spoke to Philip, and he went and joined the carriage that the eunuch was in, and he preached the gospel to him, and he got baptized. This is the kind of thing that I've seen, So really, I just want to share this to encourage, all of us, and it's really encouraging me to, share it as well, just to talk about the things of God and the things that God is doing, in and through people. This is just a really encouraging thing, and it just highlights how real the Bible is, and that what we read in the book of Acts is for believers today. It says, believers shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. That's for today. The things that the Bible say are true, and all things are possible for those who believe. Now, I've got a number of other testimonies I won't share right now, but I believe I will make more videos sharing the things that I've seen to encourage all of you. Now, I know that some of you guys are already walking in this, but some of you might not be, and you might be encouraged by this, and it might build your faith to believe, what is actually possible. So I just want to leave you guys with this, and I hope this testimony blesses you. And if it has, just give it a thumbs up. That's going to help it reach more people. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I give prophetic words from the Lord that will help you grow in your walk. And I'll be sharing more of these testimonies as well. So God bless you, and have an awesome day.